Hello and welcome to St Luke's Grounds. My name is Paul.
And my name is Gillian.
And we are members of the All-Age Worship Team. In June 2018, we held an outdoor service in the church grounds, and this film forms part of the service that morning. At present, we can't gather together for worship either indoors or out, so the church grounds are brought to your home in this virtual walk. During this film, we visit 3 different areas of the lovely grounds at St Luke's, listen to a Bible reading and short reflection, and have time for your own prayers.
Please use this as an opportunity to reflect on God, His creation, and our place within it. God's care extends throughout His creation, and this can be found all through the Bible. The natural world shows us God's love for the world, His power, wisdom, and endless creativity. We look forward to the day when we are able to gather again to worship, either indoors or outdoors, and to explore the grounds for ourselves. Until then, let us continue to remember that we have an unchanging God helping us to navigate through all the different times of our lives.
Reading is taken from Matthew chapter 6, verses 28 to 34. And why do you worry about clothes? Look at the flowers in the field. See how they grow. They don't work or make clothes for themselves. But I tell you that even Solomon with his riches was not dressed as beautifully as one of these flowers. God clothes the grass in the field like that. The grass is living today, but tomorrow it is thrown into the fire to be burned. So you can be even more sure that God will clothe you. Don't have so little faith. Don't worry and say, "What will we eat?" or "What will we drink?" or "What will we wear?" All the people who don't know God keep trying to get these things. And your Father in heaven knows that you need them. The thing you should want most is God's kingdom and doing what God wants. Then all these things you need will be given to you. So don't worry about tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Tomorrow will have its own worries.
Before we spend some time at the community garden reflecting on our Bible passage, I'd like to invite you to take a piece of paper which we will be using a little later to draw a flower on. So let us now consider the flowers. Think about your favourite flower. Recall its intricate detail, its beauty, the stem, the petals, the leaves, the colours, the detail of its centre. Imagine its fragrance. God looks after the flowers. As small as they are important to Him, and so we too are looked after by God. Now let's continue to think about our favourite flower, and if you're feeling creative, take your piece of paper and draw a flower. As we think about it, let God speak to you about your worries and anxieties. If you wish, write them on the piece of paper. And when you are ready, place the piece of paper in front of you. Put your trust in God. We can depend on Him. He loves you very much. So let's just spend a couple of moments in quiet prayer. Amen. We continue our walk through the grounds, moving to the mosaic pillars.
The reading is taken from Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verses 1 to 6. There is a right time for everything. Everything on earth has a special season. There is a time to be born and a time to die. There is a time to plant and a time to pull up plants. There is a time to kill and a time to heal. There is a time to destroy and a time to build. There is a time to cry and a time to laugh. There is a time to be sad and a time to dance. There is a time to throw away stones and a time to gather them up. There is a time to hug and a time not to hug. There is a time to look for something and a time to stop looking for it. There is a time to keep things and a time to throw things away.
As we look at the beautiful mosaic pillars, we are immediately struck by God's glory displayed in the seasons. Each season brings its own beauty and has its own purpose. The changing seasons of nature can also reflect the seasons of our lives. In spring there is new life. It can mean new beginnings. Summer reminds us of life in all its fullness. Autumn, a time of fruitfulness. Winter, sometimes a time of darkness, but also a time of rest and preparation. Throughout the changing seasons of our lives, we are reminded that we have an unchanging God who helps us to navigate through all the different periods of our lives. On our pillars, there are also reminders of God's never-failing love. Perhaps you've noticed the cross of Christ, the dove, the rainbow, the angel, and St. Luke's Church. The church reminds us that just like the mosaic pieces fit together and create something wonderful. So God has put us in the family of our church so that we can help and love one another through the joyous and difficult times of our lives. Let us take a moment to think about the pillar which means the most to you. It may be because it is so beautiful, or your favourite season. It may be that it reflects the season of your life that you are in right now. In a few moments of silence, you may want just to be still and close to God, or perhaps thank Him for the family of St. Luke's, for His unfailing love and for the wonders of His world. Amen. Now we move to the Wildlife Haven or Bug Hotels.
The reading is taken from Psalm 46. God is our protection and our strength. He always helps in times of trouble. So we will not be afraid if the earth shakes or if the mountains fall into the sea. We will not fear even if the oceans roar and foam, or if the mountains shake at the raging sea. Come and see what the Lord has done. He has done amazing things on the earth. He stops wars everywhere on the earth. He breaks all bows and spears and burns up the chariots with fire. God says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be praised in all the nations. I will be praised throughout the earth. The Lord of heaven's armies is with us. The God of Jacob is our protection."
So now we're going to spend some time reflecting on God's protection and shelter. We are thinking about how God protects us and provides us shelter at this point in our journey. So let us stop for a moment and think of other ways in which God shelters us. What experience have we had? What image comes into your mind when we talk about God's protection and shelter? Perhaps it's in the palm of his hand, under the shadow of his wings. We can also think about being hidden and out of view and safe. There are psalms which remind us that God can be a hiding place for us. Even when we grow in our mother's womb, we are safe and known to God. And we are thinking about how we have not always noticed this protection, perhaps taken it for granted or refused to share it with others. How do we feel when we see pictures of people without homes, maybe living in tents or walking to try and find a safer place to be? What is our reaction when we pass a homeless person on the street? Have we asked the names of those who come to Crosby? We are also thinking about how we have abused our home, our planet, and how this is not just affecting us, but is having a terrible effect on wildlife. Images of birds and animals trapped in the plastic we thoughtlessly throw away are easy to find on the internet. We want to walk God's way and become more like God in the way we think and act, and offer protection and shelter for God's children wherever we can. Here in the garden and graveyard, we have built shelters for wildlife out of waste materials, wood, straw, bottles and sticks. This is important not just for the bugs and beetles, and also hedgehogs right here, but also because this action helps us to think through how we can act on a bigger scale to offer protection and shelter, or how not to destroy shelter and protection for people or for wildlife. So let's spend a few moments thinking about what simple action we can decide to take this week to make a difference. Remembering some words from Martin Luther King: "The time is always right to do what is right."
Thank you for joining us today on our virtual church walk around the grounds, and I pray that you have found some comfort in this.